of the economy that aviation is the oxygen. So there has to be oxygen to oxygenate the blood to deliver on the tourism goals. So I commend again our tourism colleagues scattered all throughout the various offices, sales territories around the world. Those who are in Nassau, of course, our investment colleagues, tourism headed again by Director General and Tia Duncombe, investments again by Director of Investment, and Felicia Woods Hannah. And of course, I have the wonderful privilege of serving dual roles as Director of Aviation and the Deputy Director General of Tourism. But I think we want to focus today a little bit about aviation, just to give you a history of how we would have evolved into this Department of Aviation. Aviation was formally established to recognize 104 years ago, somewhere around 1919, when we saw the first Chalks airline. At the time it was called Chalks Air, I believe, made its first stop into Bimini. And so as Elkin 360 said, and he is correct, that Bimini is the gateway, Bahamas. But since then, we had an incredible story as it relates to the evolution of aviation. And so the Department of Aviation was created in the Ministry of Tourism's organizational structure in 2018. And there were some very clear things that this department has been mandated to do. We provide oversight to all of the government agencies involved in the aviation sector, and there are 8 agencies that comprise the Department of Aviation, tasked at our office to adjudicate and resolve issues that develop between these entities. And also we are charged to provide a depository for all matters relating to the aviation sector, and most importantly, to provide the necessary focus on the government's goals in this critically important sector. And I emphasize that we, again, have been mandated, most importantly, to provide the necessary focus on the government's goal in this critically important sector. And so our stakeholders fall under one umbrella, including the Air Accident Investigation Authority. We have charge, again, providing some oversight for the Airport Authority that comprises and has oversight of some 28 family island airports. We have some authority, an umbrella over Bahamas Air, over the Bahamas Air Navigational Services Authority, sometimes referred to as the air traffic controllers, over the Civil Aviation Authority on the regulatory side, or CAB, over the Freeport Airport Development Company, Nassau Airport Development Company, LPIA, and also Nassau Flight Services. So it's an incredibly massive ecosystem, over some 4,000 employees in aviation, doing a phenomenal job. And I think that even though we stand at the forefront and sometimes before the cameras, the real champions are those who are working behind the scene, who are causing aviation to soar, who are causing tourism to bloom and to blossom, hit pre-pandemic levels, exceed them. And so I, on behalf of the Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Tourism, Investments and Aviation, and also the Minister of State for Aviation, the Honorable Basil McIntosh, express again our deep appreciation to all of our family members. Many of you might recall that the Deputy Prime Minister had announced that we would be launching the first ever National Aviation Strategic Plan. July the 1st of this year was the target date, and at 12:01 on July the 1st, we launched this. It was historic for the Bahamas because prior to July the 1st, notwithstanding the many aviation agencies that were somewhat fragmented in their approach, there was never a collaborative effort and a consolidated plan that brings together all of our agencies and house in one place, one document, the first ever strategic plan that again defines and is set to revolutionize aviation across our ecosystem. Ladies and gentlemen, there cannot be progress without a plan. And unfortunately, sometimes in the public service, we don't do a good job at having plans that are continuous. So this plan is designed to survive just the typical political cycles. Our team members put their sweat, blood, tears, effort into collectively formulating this plan that I would just touch on during this particular briefing. The Prime Minister had declared that October the 21st to the 28th was the first ever National Aviation Week. And then the last week in October hereafter will be recognized as Aviation Week to underscore the significant role that aviation plays again in advancing our Commonwealth. During that particular week, we had occasion to do several things that we'll speak to, but it gave us a chance again to really dig a bit deeper into the formal launch and solidification of this 8-point, what I call flight plan, to meet and exceed industry best practices. So around our 8 broad themes, one of the things that we have been charged to do was improve airport infrastructure and development. This again is important given the fact that the Bahamas is an archipelago. Over 60 airports, some 30 airports between the Family Islands, Grand Bahama, and Nassau and New Providence that the government owns. The fact that we are charged to attract international air traffic and foreign arrivals, and that by nature of us being an archipelago, there has to be the movement of domestic traffic. The airport infrastructure, how do we address the deficiencies and ensure ongoing development, again, ranks high as a priority in the government of the Bahamas. So the first thing we've been charged to do as a part of this plan is improve airport infrastructure and development. Ladies and gentlemen, airlines and passengers and cargo require safe and efficient, affordable airport infrastructure to sustain their operations. We spend a lot of money in tourism promoting the destination, along with our promotion boards, and at times we run the risk of bringing persons to see a bad show if we do not address the state of our airport infrastructure. And so through private and public-private partnerships with our airport stakeholders, government authorities, we will develop and have begun the process of developing best-in-class infrastructure for what I call airports of the future, based on new technologies, cultural authenticity, and our commitment to sustainability and resilience. So you will see that we are not just building faster, we're building smarter. We're looking at ways to incorporate in our design components sustainable airports capable of withstanding Category 5 hurricanes. We have moved again with cautious urgency since we would have made formal announcements as they relate to the airport PPPs and other ongoing initiatives, and we have moved with intentionality to initiate a process where we identify a portfolio of airports. We invite a qualified, credible, experienced concessionaires to partner with the government to deliver on some key airport infrastructural objectives. Some of these objectives include: how do we operate airports as profit centers with responsibility for maximizing revenue and managing costs to generate and optimize profitability? It must make good sense for potential investors. Some of the objectives, another one, how do we provide capital funding through private sector engagement? How do we import good technical knowledge? How do we look at operational efficiencies? How do we deliver experiences aligned with best practices in terms of service to achieve profitable levels of performance and economic growth? We looked at how do we deliver facilities and infrastructure to provide sustainable and resilient solutions as it relates to design and build. How do we expedite the required upgrades, especially in Grand Bahama and Abaco and other airports who would have felt the impact by storms? How do we look at attracting more direct international airlift? Because the reality is that when we make decisions and we negotiate on behalf of the government of the Bahamas to attract more airlift to the destination, a lot of the conversations with our airline partners really revolve around the state of our airport infrastructure. So it's imperative that we address the state of airport infrastructure as a component of our National Aviation Strategic Plan. But we're not just speaking about a development that is set to be manifested some 3, 4, 5 years from now, even though the particular component of this strategy really speaks to 2, 3-year airport developments. Our family islands who deserve good quality infrastructure are saying that you need to address some of the concerns now. And as a family island boy born in Andros, North Andros, Nicholas Tang, I agree that we need to, in a very systematic way, address the state of family island infrastructure. And the government, again, has determined to accelerate a prioritized listing of airports, notwithstanding the 14 airports that was announced in the PBPs, and the airports that have been given attention aside of the 14 identified airports. So you would have seen, within the next several months, you will see significant traction in New Bycatch Island. You will see Exuma International Airport and Black Point airports. You will see there being significant movement on the ground. The project, again, is fully mobilized. You will see, again, work continuing in Grand Bahama, the Grand Bahama International Airport that is still actively involved in a PBP process at this time. You will see work continuing in North Eleuthera as a priority, and Mangrove Key, San Andros, and also Deadman's Key and Maguana. So the government has determined a listing of prioritized airports that will be given immediate attention and mobilization over the next several months. Those who were at the ribbon cutting in Bimini, as we were to sign the management agreement, heard the Deputy Prime Minister commit to at least 5 ribbon cutting ceremonies over the next 2 years, including Bimini. In the meanwhile, while we are waiting on the more substantive new airport developments, we have been charged and have delivered on addressing some critical shortcomings. One example is North Eleuthera, that has been actively in the public domain, and it should be because North Eleuthera generates significant revenue on behalf of tourism and by extension contributes again to overall economic growth and sustainability. So we heard the cries about North Eleuthera. Immediately we addressed it on a short-term basis by ensuring that the existing terminal that is somewhat deficient received new air conditioning units and chairs. A few weeks later, we mobilized modular units into North Eleuthera. They are there as we speak at present, accommodating in excess of 100 passengers prior to departure, complete with new air conditioning units, padded seating, security systems, and we're hopeful that it also have Wi-Fi as a temporary solution, an immediate temporary solution to North Eleuthera before we again have the robust return of visitors for the Thanksgiving and into the winter, even though every month of the year for tourism has been a robust one. We were able to address new roof in Governor's Harbor. Today, we have technicians on the ground in North Eleuthera, MET technicians addressing the AWO system, the automatic weather observation system that has been out of commission for a while, I understand, but it posed an issue for airlines, especially Delta, and we got notification yesterday. Within 24 hours, we were able to mobilize technicians to address the concern in North Eleuthera. Roksang Airport in Eleuthera is getting some attention in addressing the obstacle limitation concerns. And of course, folks are familiar that on the airside in Arthurstown, some airside developments in both Arthurstown and Georgetown are happening right now. And then we entered into a management agreement just this past Monday as it relates to the South Bimini International Airport development. The Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister would have spoken extensively on this particular partnership with the Bimini Airport Development Partners Limited, and a company owned jointly by Phoenix Infrastructure and Plenary Americas. And of course, the partnership include Avports, an airport operations company, and Plenary Americas, a long-term infrastructure investor, developer, and asset manager of public-private partnerships across the USA, Canada, and the United States. The Prime Minister would have already said that the management agreement allows for a 30-year concession to manage the airports with firm commitments to invest by the investors some $80 million, and I'm told plus, in what we expect to believe and to see will be a state-of-the-art facility, and it will be done in 2 phases. The developers have determined that their words that they are ready to be mobilized immediately. The first phase is going to be about a $30 million phase, and the second phase, of course, will be valued at around $50 million. But you will see significant improvement when there is ongoing consultation with the community on the planning, the design. The community will be very much involved in this Bimini Airport project. You will see improvement on the initial runway. You will see temporary terminal improvements, access road modifications, apron expansion, equipment maintenance, storage, cargo facilities, a fixed base operator, including fuel farm and apron, and other ancillary projects. So we're very, very proud of the strides we're making as it relates to improving the state of our airport infrastructure and a systematic development. Ladies and gentlemen, I paused there started there for a second, initially because of the importance that airport infrastructure has, not just in our more developed islands, but you're seeing us make reference to Maguana and Maikal and other islands. So this has to be a comprehensive approach as it relates to airport development and improvement. The second thing that we are proud of as a part of our National Aviation Strategic Plan is not just how we improve airport infrastructure, but secondly, how do we enhance strategic partnerships and engagement. We believe that successful partnerships with our aviation stakeholders, such as our airport users and surrounding community members, is of particular importance to the success of this particular National Aviation Strategic Plan. And so our commitment is to continuously engage our partners on matters including deliverables and aviation policy. So when we speak about the strategic plan, you will see at the back all of our aviation stakeholders are involved in driving the outcomes of this plan. But not just our local stakeholders. We are proud of the work we are doing again with ICAO and the FAA and IATA and other persons outside of our jurisdiction. So the Deputy Prime Minister would have announced that we would have signed an MOU with the state of Qatar and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia around matters of mutual interest, including things such as air connectivity, development of aviation, knowledge sharing, human capital development, and infrastructural development. We have been pleased to partner with organizations such as ALTA, the Association of Latin American Airlines in Cancun. We held a meeting just 4 weeks ago, and we are pleased that we will be hosting 2024 in Nassau, Bahamas, the ALTA conference. We've partnered again with the International Federation of Air Traffic Controllers. Just 3 weeks ago in Nassau, we hosted them here for their regional meeting. Some 19 countries in the region and Latin America, the Caribbean region. We just returned again from Istanbul, Turkey, where we partnered again with Routes World. Over 300 airlines and airports and tourism boards met personally with over 20 airlines and airports around the world as it relates to airlift initiatives to the Bahamas. We partner with churches and religious communities to cover our sector in prayer. This is what a comprehensive partnership looks like. We're partnering again with the Live and Give Foundation. And Jet Nassau, we hosted for the first time really almost 200 young persons to expose them to aviation practices and opportunities and empowerment exercise. And you'll hear more about this as we launch our first ever Bahamas Aeronautical Academy. And for the first time in our nation's history, you'll hear us speak about the launch of our Aviation Cadet Program in partnership again with the Bahamas Ministry of Education. So colleagues, we are pleased again about the partnerships with local and also international stakeholders. This is what's going to drive the success of our aviation industry. The third thing in this National Aviation Strategic Plan is how do we increase airlift and improve air connectivity. Increasing airlift and improving air connectivity are critical components to ensure that the Bahamas remains economically viable and that we ensure that the Bahamas remains on the cutting edge as the regional leader when it comes to tourism and aviation. And so partnership with airlift and aviation stakeholders, such as your international and your domestic airlines, and I pause with domestic airlines, because oftentimes we place the focus on our legacy carriers. But as we look at our strategic plan, it encompasses our legacy international carriers, but also our domestic carriers. So I think for the first time in a very long time, our domestic airlines feel as though they have a seat at the table, and they do, when it comes to decisions that speaks to connectivity across our region. We're looking at partnering with airport users and surrounding community members It's particularly important to us as we see the success of this National Aviation Strategic Plan. At the beginning of this year, the Deputy Prime Minister gave us in tourism and aviation a specific mandate as it relates to growing overall tourism arrivals. And so we looked at what was happening globally, and we saw that the predictions were that air arrivals globally would be about 89% of pre-pandemic levels. 9 months into this year, the Bahamas has exceeded that as a part of our aggressive airlift strategy. To put this into context, the Caribbean, Latin America is leading the world, and the Bahamas is leading the region. We have goals in tourism and aviation. We are exceeding them. This has been a milestone year for us. As of September of this year, we welcomed some 7.2 million visitors. That helps us to surpass the pre-pandemic 2019 levels. Overall arrivals are up. When it comes to airlift, some 1.3 plus million visitors arrived by air, and our overall arrivals are outpacing 2019 by 33%, including airlift that has broken the 2019 levels. International air arrivals to the Bahamas increased by some 22% in September of this year, and this last quarter is targeted to be the strongest quarter we've ever seen again in our history. The USA remains the top performing stopover market. We're putting a lot of focus now on our Latin American market that is gaining momentum, and we are looking again at increasing visitor arrivals from non-traditional but emerging markets such as Asia, Africa, the Middle East, Australia, etc. But ladies and gentlemen, this is important because when we look at our stopover arrivals, this equates to putting more seats in planes and more heads in beds and eventually more money in the pockets of local entrepreneurs and stakeholders. Airlift sometimes has been targeted as contributing in terms of their economic value, some 28 to 30% more than your average cruise passenger. So airlift is very important as a major driver of the Bahamian economy. So we're not letting up, we're just pressing the gas. As a matter of fact, you'll be pleased at the new and increased airlift targeted for the last 3 months of this year. You're familiar again that we have new flights from New York, Orlando, Los Angeles, Charlotte, Atlanta, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Dallas, to name a few. American Airlines announced their new service, Miami to Eleuthera, starting in February 2024. Alaska Airlines Seattle to LA begins December of this year. For the first time ever, we've opened again the West Coast. We went last week with JetBlue. In December the 15th, we're opening Seattle, and also we're opening the LA and Seattle to Alaska Airlines. Bahamas Air launches the Raleigh to Grand Bahama, November the 12th. November the 15th, next week, Bahamas Air, Fort Lauderdale to Exuma. Delta Airlines started November the 5th, a few days ago, into Nassau from Atlanta. Delta Airlines, again, is revising and invigorating Marsh Harbor to Atlanta this fall. JSX Airlines, in December, will start a new Dallas-Miami Marsh Harbor route. Makers Air is going into Fort Lauderdale for the first time into Stella Maris, Long Island. Silver Air is now about to announce a new route into Grand Bahama. JetBlue again started November the 4th. Silver Airlines has new stopovers into Orlando, from Orlando into Eleuthera, and also into Albuquerque. Sunwing resumes Grand Bahama this December. Air Canada returns to Exuma and San Salvador. Air Caribe from France into San Salvador. JetBlue again, and we are not just looking at your commercial airlift. We're looking at amphibious airlift also. Your seaplane landings, that's going to really cause there to be a rethinking of how we do airlift in the Bahamas. So both amphibious airlift and also your vertical or your helicopter airlift will become priorities as we move to aggressively meet the goals of accelerating and enhancing strategic partnerships with our airline partners. This is very important, ladies and gentlemen, because in addition to that, Bahamas Air has been given permission and has been given a mandate to aggressively look at interline agreements with airlines. So Bahamas Air has an interline agreement with Alaska Air, and also we hope that within the next 2 weeks, we'll have an interline agreement between Bahamas Air and also several other legacy carriers like Virgin Airlines. Ladies and gentlemen, I can share much more about this strategic plan, But the fourth thing we do is a human capital development. How do we enhance that? We spoke about the establishment of your aeronautical academy. We spoke about the aviation cadet. But I'm very pleased that we are offering our existing aviation professionals a chance to jumpstart and accelerate their career. So we've targeted our aviation stakeholders. We have done through NAD Job Fair. And for the first time, the first cluster of persons who are going to Qatar in just a few weeks will be aviation colleagues because of our MOU with the state of Qatar and the Civil Aviation Authority. And I'm very pleased that the two persons who have been targeted in our first cluster are both females. That continues to underscore our commitment to supporting women in aviation. We have a widespread industry-wide succession planning exercise to make sure that we give the next generation of aviation professionals the tools they need to take over this industry and to ensure success. In just a few minutes, ladies and gentlemen, I'll wind down. We have the fifth thing. We're optimizing operational efficiencies. We're looking at financial resilience and revenue optimization. We're saying to our air aviation stakeholders that you need to become less dependent on the public purse. It's a part of our strategic plan. We're strengthening security systems and strengthening safety. Ladies and gentlemen, there's been a lot of things in the media about safety, and safety is paramount in aviation. So there has to be collaboration among and between all of our aviation stakeholders to ensure that passenger confidence in aviation and aviation security, it is indispensable to the continued growth of our industry. We are uncompromising when it comes to ensuring that the passenger confidence in aviation for their safety and security is indispensable. So we've spoken again with our colleagues, our local airlines. We're giving courses and training, and we have a great oversight system as it relates to aviation safety. We're doing all we can through CAB, through air accident, through civil aviation, and everybody else, our partners, to ensure that safety becomes a priority. And then, ladies and gentlemen, the Prime Minister has been very vocal and at the forefront globally as it relates to sustainable practices. Well, the seventh component of this strategy speaks to how we position the Bahamas as the regional leader in sustainable aviation and air transport services. The Bahamas' commitment to global sustainability initiatives, renewable energy discussions, greener airspace technologies, and actions to advance net zero and carbon neutrality are essential components in the success of this plan. So it's important that we, as a region, continue to explore a multi-sectoral view around the building, expanding, and retrofitting of our airports in line with global sustainability objectives, incorporate technology to maximize functionality, and also improve the travel experience and drive investment towards development projects. Last thing we're going to do is we're going to see a technological transformation of the aviation industry. We're going to improve. The eighth component is how do we improve innovation and technology. Aviation is ever-changing, and we need to take advantage of advanced cutting-edge technology to meet the demands of the new normal. The world has changed in a post-pandemic environment, and so through ongoing collaboration, the sector will explore innovative systems and solutions to assist in operational efficiency and effectiveness. Go ahead and see now with their flight tracking. Look at the use of technology in traffic management, air traffic controllers, and if you zoom in, you will see that you are able, through technology, through this little QR code, to link again to the Department of Aviation and keep up to date with all of the things we are doing as it relates to aviation across our agencies. Again, I commend our aviation and our tourism stakeholders. I'm pleased again to be a part of the team. The Deputy Prime Minister has given us a mandate to advance the objectives of the government of the Bahamas. We are all in, and I believe that the Bahamas will become the regional leader and the regional exemplar of aviation excellence. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roma, for that very comprehensive report. Are there questions for Mr. Roma before he moves off the scene? So you're right back.
Dr. Roma, I just have a question about the Bimini deal that was signed. Is there a need for land acquisition in that deal on South Bimini?
I think any matters as relates to land acquisition was cured prior to the signing of the management agreement. I know that the concerns again was some land issues and how it might be encroaching into some environmentally sensitive areas again for the site for the development. But land acquisition matters have been cured again to the office of the Prime Minister.
Good morning, Dr. Roma. I know that LPIA could use some additional taxiways, and the main runway at LPIA could use some expansion, or if not a new runway, to accommodate the increase in airlift to the capital. What are plans looking like from the aviation department's perspective in terms of providing those additional taxiways and also the new runway for LPIA?
I've met with the chairman and the president and CEO of NAD, Vernice Watkins. NAD has unveiled a plan that speaks to the expansion of the taxiways and additional runways. So I am certain that very soon we would invite the media to see those plans, but there is a plan to address, again, the airside concerns and components at the LPIA.
Do those plans include a new runway for LPIA?
The plans do include a new runway. The plans also include addressing the concerns with the control towers. It speaks to the parallel runway. It speaks about a comprehensive way that we can address the congestion between the FBOs again and the commercial legacy side of LPIA. So it's a comprehensive plan and that addresses all of those concerns. And the president and CEO of NAD, I'm certain very soon will be unveiling plans again to the general public.
You mentioned amphibious aircraft and also helicopters adding to the airlift industry in country. Where are we at with introducing a helipad in country, just specifically for the landing of helicopters?
We have issued approvals to civil aviation, again for vertical airlift. I just returned from Bimini just a few days ago. Bimini now has a helipad. Baker's Bay now has a helipad. So you will see that your amphibious, your vertical, your helicopter, you'll start seeing traffic in Baker's Bay and also in Bimini. Helipads really just look at a 50 by 50 landing space traditionally. So we're targeting specific islands. And these are your high-end luxury clients, your Baker's Bay, your Bimini. We had helipads in Atlantis. Again, these are still there. So we're working again with the regulatory agency, civil aviation, to ensure that we support this mandate for vertical airlift. But helipads in Bimini already and also in Baker's Bay.
When we talk about expanding or introducing more airlift to the country, is there any plan in the long term to increase operational hours at LPIA? I mean, the airport closes kind of early. So any plans to increase the hours of operation?
The short answer is yes. We have looked at our aviation strategy. We looked at the mandate to increase air connectivity from places such as Latin America. The Bahamas is positioned geographically to have ongoing operations, including nighttime operations. We know that there are some concerns now. There are some commercial matters that I think has to be resolved, and manpower matters. You'd have heard CEO President of Nassau Airport Development just announced last week that an airport hotel is back. Airport hotel is back on the table. So that gives us a sneak peek into the thinking of NAD as it relates to operations outside of your traditional hours.
Just going back to Bimini quickly, I think the release said there were about 800,000 people who passed through Bimini this year so far.
I will get, yes, 800. Now that includes your air and sea arrivals.
Right. I was just wondering if you know the breakdown.
I would get the breakdown to you before the end of this press conference. I have the figures, I'll get them for you. But the 800 plus for Bimini, again, is segmented into your sea and also your traditional air. And I will get that exact breakdown for you.
And just a look into the future, when the airport development is finished, what do you hope to happen with Bimini with that improvement at the airport in terms of airlift?
Bimini becomes, again, a major port of entry. We believe that Bimini is poised to become a leader when it comes to your high-end leisure, luxury tourism. But Bimini's positioning, again, as the first port of entry airlift coming out of Florida, makes it a viable stop. So persons can actually stop in the Bimini as a major port of entry, develop world class, and once an airport is developed there, a state-of-the-art airport, you're going to see significant increase in your commercial traffic. So we're going to predict again the growth rate for Bimini is going to significantly increase when it comes to traffic, your high-end traffic, your vertical traffic, amphibious airlift, and the airport is going to really facilitate an increase in your air movements in Bimini.
Any airlines saying to you already, we want to come here? With
Airlines,
this
yes, airlines are saying that we want to come into Bimini. Bimini has high exposure. You have your Silver Airlines right now is stopping in the Bimini. You have other legacy carriers. Those who would have remembered the charm of Bimini. Again, Bimini is a story. The first airline was actually in Bimini with Chalks, 1919. So Bimini is positioned again to go back to those glory days and attracting again commercial carriers. But yes, airlines are saying we're watching Bimini, and if you build it, we're going to come.
That's a related topic. I know that we now, as drone pilots, we come under your BCAA. Could you reiterate the importance of locals as well as international people of registering their drones once they come to the Bahamas?
Yes, air drones, again, the regulation of air drones has been a concern, again, for BCAA. So what CAB is doing is just trying to ensure there's proper regulation. They can become obstacles, again, to your air traffic. And so for photographers and others, we're just asking you, again, to follow, again, the best practice of ensuring, again, to follow the proper regulations. It's very important because we're not going to put the safety of air users at risk.
One more thing, sorry, Dr. Roma. What do you say to concerns posed by Trade Union President Obie Ferguson earlier this week that Bahamian workers are not benefiting as much as they could from the record-breaking tourism arrival numbers because more than 80% of those arrivals are lower-spending cruise passengers?
I have not heard Mr. Ferguson's comment, and I don't wish to speak to that directly. What I would say is that hotels are experiencing record-breaking numbers of occupancy, that your average daily rates are at a record time high. And when I, again, walk through the straw markets, I'm seeing our local entrepreneurs and stakeholders who are benefiting, again, from the influx of cruise passengers who are able to put bread on their table and uniforms on their children and put tithes on the offering plates because of the 5.5 million who's coming to our cruise lines. I will speak to those particular visitors, those passengers and entrepreneurs, local ones, and ask them again if they're benefiting from the increased tourism numbers. I'm employed by tourism. I'll speak personally, I'm benefiting, okay? And so I think the Bahamas generally feels, could we do more? The answer is yes. Have we done more compared to the pre-pandemic years? We're all happy to be back on our jobs and to have tourists come in. There was a time when there was nobody walking downtown. We didn't want to go back to those days. So we're benefiting. Can we benefit more? The answer is yes. Are we benefiting now? The answer is again yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Roma. We're going to move along now to talk about another important initiative of the Davis administration, which is the school breakfast program. That, as you know, was launched here in New Providence about a month ago. Since then, it's expanded to the Family Islands. Ms. Bernita Adderley is the coordinator for that program. She will tell us about the Family Island launch and what gains have been made so far with the program here in New Providence since the pilot began. Ms. Adderley?
A pleasant good morning. As you know, we would have done the initial launch about a month ago, the 3rd of October to be precise. Since then, the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training is pleased to announce the expansion of the National School Breakfast Pilot Program to 4 Family Islands. Those islands are Cat Island at the Old By Primary, Exuma at Rowville Primary, Grand Bahama at the Holmes Rock Primary Schools, and in Abaco at Cherokee Sound Primary. This launch on the Family Island took place last Friday, the 3rd of November. Breakfast, as we all know, is the most important meal of the day. Studies show that students who do not enjoy the benefits of breakfast before attending school may demonstrate lethargic behavior, performance issues, lack of focus, and of course, absenteeism. We would like to reiterate that the National School Breakfast Pilot Program is universal. This means that we feed everybody, not a selected few, everybody. All students at the pilot schools for this academic year is receiving universal benefits. We would also like to encourage all students and the parents of these students to take advantage of this program happening at our 8 pilot schools. To date, we are pleased to announce that we have actually served 8,894 breakfasts in New Providence alone. It is important to note that the breakfast served was well received by students, by parents, by teachers, as well as the school administrators. On behalf of the Minister of Education and Technical and Vocational Training, the Honorable Glenys Hanna Martin, I wish to extend a heartfelt thank you to administrators and district superintendents, school administrators, the logistical administrators, and the food handlers in particular, who have worked tirelessly to establish and execute such a dynamic program. Your support is greatly appreciated. Any questions?
I saw a report in our local daily talking about the food that's being offered in the program. Do you care to address any concerns that have been raised that it's not as nutritious as some may have hoped it to be, or in one instance it was compared to, I'm sure you saw the report. What is your response to the feedback?
As a food scientist, I can actually tell you we have evaluated the meals. We can give you the caloric value as well as nutritive value of every item that we would have selected. We expected better, really, because it's quite concerning that the news outlets would create a story from something so positive and amplify the negativity of it, because it's such an awesome program that was extended to 8 schools in the country with the hope to roll out to the entire country. We have done a mammoth task as a steering committee to make sure that everything that we offer to our students is at the best level possible. We have done our part. I am though disappointed in the release and the statements that were stated on social media. I will not allow it to deter us. It will not stop us. We will continue to push forward and provide these students with the best that we have to offer. Being mindful of the fact that many students do not have breakfast to eat in the morning. Many students leave home, even though they do have breakfast, they don't have the opportunity or the time to consume such. So we will continue with this endeavor. It is an excellent initiative, and we will continue to push forward, despite the naysayers.
Any further questions for Ms. Harrison? Thank you very much. Thank you for your passion and thank you for your service. Thank you very much. It's that point in our press conference now where I will take any questions that you may have. But just before that, the administration wanted to make to clear the air and make something absolutely clear. There was a report circulating about the possibility of a fee increase or a late fee implementation concerning BPL bills. And the administration wants to make it very clear that BPL has no intention, or the administration has no intention of allowing BPL to impose a $5 late fee on consumers. Now, the late fee proposal was among 5 proposals that were put forward as possibilities to try and reduce that $100 million, I think it is, accounts receivable for the corporation. Now, considering the economic conditions, the administration is not minded to add any burden to consumers. What the administration is doing, as far as BPL is concerned, is improving the infrastructure, making sure that electricity service is more reliable, introducing other forms of energy that will ultimately drive down the cost of electricity for consumers. That is the trajectory. That has not changed, and a $5 late fee is not something that is on the table as far as BPL is concerned. Are there any other questions? Everybody is good? All right. Thank you very much. We went a little over our time today, but thank you, everyone, as always, for coming, and have a great day. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry with all these beautiful sweet treats on the side of me. We are here with Sweet Loaves and Anthony's Claire. If we can have your representative come up now as we get a little feedback on your business, and then we feed on these sweet treats. Come on up, come on up. So tell us about your business, please.
Good day. My name is Anthony Claire, also known as Cookie. I am the proprietor of Sweet Loaves, a home-based business. My company gave birth July 2020 during the pandemic when my job became redundant. I decided to try my hands at baking pastries, a craft that I admired and watched my grandmother perfect. My initial choice was banana bread, to which my family and friends loved, and of course encouraged me to market. Chocolate chips, raisins, cream cheese, and much more were added to add a little more spice to my banana bread. It was a hit. My clientele expanded, and so did the demands for occasional cakes, including birthday, wedding, and anniversary cakes in various flavors. Special requests for a variety of cheesecakes, including guava, pumpkin, Oreo, and cherry, as well as guava duff, became of high demand. I was pushing myself hard, but I was also having fun. It was my hustle. You know, you're designed to do something when it is no longer a task, but you enjoy doing it. What a pleasure it is to see happy, satisfied clients and receive so much positive feedback from them. A satisfied customer is a repeat customer, and a repeat customer becomes an ambassador. Presently, my staff complement comprises of family members, my sisters, and my mom, who assist me with preparation and deliveries. WhatsApp has been the greatest way of communication between me and my customers. By demand, I provide retail slices every Thursday, along with other special requests during the week. I can be reached at 535-8050, or you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Sweet Loaves. Every pastry I bake it with love. Thank you so much for having me. Treats on me. Bon appetit.
All right, just before we go, I realized that there was a question that was submitted that may have been submitted by someone who was not here that had to do with the land that shantytowns are often, or the residents of shantytowns often occupy. And I think it had to do with whether or not they'd be prosecuted. I just want to say that the Ministry of Works is in the process, and have been for some time now, compiling a list of land lease holders with a view to checking on whether these persons may be in breach. Oftentimes, land is leased for agricultural purposes and other purposes, and the administration wants to ensure that if in fact it was leased for that purpose, it is used for that purpose. Using Crown land or agricultural land for purposes other than what they are intended to be used for, or certainly allowing shanty towns to be constructed on them constitutes a breach which subjects all persons who are involved in such activities to prosecution. And so that is something the administration wants to ensure that everyone involved in these practices is aware of. They are subject to prosecution. They could also be subject to the lease being terminated because it's, outside the terms of the lease. So as the unregulated, I forget the name, Irregular Communities Commission continues to do its work, that is something that it is certainly looking out for. So with that, thank you everyone for coming and have a great afternoon.